welcome back, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the second episode of The High Strangeness, where we dive into all things paranormal, metaphysical, and spiritual, answering your questions and talking based on years of experience between your two hosts, Saduda and Sifu Amunbari, on High Strangeness. We have some questions today. Sahadiv asks, what's the difference between human and animal paneng? Coming from my lineage, I'm going to explain first what paneng is, and then I'm going to explain some of the differences, and then based on your understanding of the occult and the metaphysical, you can also chime in on whatever you may have to add with this as well. Paneng is a Thai term. Literal translation is the buckle. And what it's talking about is specifically the piece of bone from the forehead that goes in between the eyebrows. This amulet that I'm wearing, this is paneng. So this actually have a human forehead bone. We use paneng for the inherent power that it holds in the bones itself, the harmonics of it. It's like a crystal, the bone itself. It's considered to be more or less a talisman that can avoid a lot of things and bring a lot of good. That's a simplified answer. What is the difference between animal paneng and human paneng? I would say that this varies upon, what the animal is itself. Was this a crocodile? Was this an elephant? Was this a lion? And even then we get into the specifics of, if it was a crocodile, was it an albino crocodile? Was it a crocodile that lived to be over 50 plus years old? Was it a baby? Like, these things can kind of give us a different frequency of what energy emits from this paneng. Aman.
The third eye is associated largely with the neocortex, which we have. Animals do not usually, most animals don't have a neocortex, and certainly that we know of on this planet, not developed to the degree that we have. So I would say, if you're using talismanic magic in order to, if we're going to use Vedic terminology, raise the energies up the chakras, we can explain it in whatever terminology we want. But I think it would take you in different directions. The animal one would lead your consciousness to a more animalistic nature, whereas the human one might, depending on the ritual done, either put you in touch with the original, owner of, the talisman, or depending on the amount of work done. And like you said, bones are piezoelectric. They are crystal. They have crystals in them. They can be, just like other crystals, theoretically used to hold different forms of energy. So I think using these different fetish objects and talisman objects will take your consciousness to different levels of awareness, and at these different levels of awareness you can express in different ways.
So if a monk were to put a specific kata and embed it with different Khmer script and spells, he could essentially rewrite the very connection to the actual human spirit that it was based upon, and tune it into the monk himself's energy, or into the very energy of the kata and spell work that was placed on there.
Well, it's similar to a heart transplant, right? Like, you have the imprinted information when the heart goes into the other person, and then eventually over time the heart will tend to lose its previous information and then regain the information of the new body. So it's similar to that. I think at the end of the day, it's all informational transfer.
So it's a template.
It's like a USB drive.
And if we were talking from the animal perspective, then if I were to use the paneng of a tiger, and it has that more primal kind of energy, would we be able to say that if certain protective spells were added with it, as well as using this animal paneng of a tiger, that we could accomplish a stronger protective aspect than just using a human Penang?
It'd be a pretty aggressive form of protection, but yeah, you could say that.
All right, let's go to our next question. Mary asks, oh, you're going to like this one. I'm going to let you take this one. What makes a monk different than a yogi? They
Uh,
both meditate, right?
yeah, they do. They do. Ooh, all right. Mary, thank you for the question. It's a good question. Good to talk to you. Good to talk to you. It's really cool actually interacting with people's questions. I'm actually enjoying this more than I thought
I
I would.
like it. I like this
Okay,
segment.
all right. So Mary, okay, there are so many ways I could take this, but simply put, there in the Indian tradition, there are different classifications of types of monks. There are householder yogis, there are sannyasis, there are people who are renunciates. There are people who are a part of the Swami order, the ancient order of Swamis. And if you go outside of that, you have the Taoist traditions where they blended yoga and Bon traditions as well as Chinese folk magic. I think the difference between a yogi and a monk would be the structure that they choose to put themselves in for their own development. And because of the structure that they put themselves in for their own development, they'll get slightly different outcomes, right? They'll all be able to meditate at the end of the day. For instance, the old legend of when Bodhidharma went from South India into southern China to found the Shaolin Temple, he was practicing Kailari Priyatu, which is an Indian form of martial arts, as he traveled north of the subcontinent. And then so this here is Bodhidharma the monk, and he's like, I'm going up from South India and here to the Himalayan mountains. And he's like, oh shit, tigers. So he uses his kung fu to like defend against bandits and tigers. But when he gets to the mountains, he gets to this swampland where there are a bunch of monks, but they're meditating, but they're decrepit. They don't have physical stamina. So he blended the Shaolin animal styles into their meditative practice, so that they could develop the physicality required to protect the community from bandits and whatnot. So in that way, it's an evolutionary thing. And because it's so evolutionary and because we are where we are in history, there are many different valid paths to attain these meditative states, whether it be the yogi path, whether it be the monk path, whether it be my path, which is literally indecipherable sometimes. I don't even know what I do. But yeah, the difference between a monk and a yogi would be their area of focus. A monk might be more interested in doing blessings for the community, whereas a traditional yogi might be interested in supporting the Akashic template of the world from a cave. They're both offering service in different ways, and it takes different levels of understanding to get there. But it's like the difference between a speed bike and a mountain bike. You know, they're similar and they're related, but they have slightly different focuses, if that helps.
This one comes from my student Marcus, and this one's a bit of a doozy.
Oh, good. I like those.
Marcus asks, in life, we often benefit from an unknown or unexplained source. Things like good fortune or protection, which are too great to be discounted as chance. This often compels one to join a religion as a way to justify and reconcile. Who or what is the source that blesses us and
Really?
protects us? Outside of the explanations provided by organized religion,
I
where does this source obtain its power?
love this. This is only episode 2, and we're going to the existential bedrock foundational reality of being. Fine.
The dim I urge.
So no, we can't fuck with him. Don't. That's not accurate.
Okay, hi, Strangeness is coming back to reality.
Okay.
We're gonna actually answer the question.
Like do some digging as to what he just said. But okay, so
It's funny if you get it, but it is a joke. It's not real.
all right, all right, all right.
What is the source of power itself? Which is how I'm reading this. What is the source of power itself? I would say, in and of itself, nothing and everything must be contained, right? Well, that means that which split the atom, that which formed the atom, that which was before the atom was even a cosmic vibration of any kind, right? This source origin that we're speaking about obviously has descriptions from many different religions, many different cults, many sects of culture, all throughout the ancient history of man to modern day, and even new ones popping up left and right. But if we were going to try to quantify what it actually is, on one hand, I would say we don't actually have the comprehensive ability of logic and reasoning in our mind to be able to simplify and explain, even if we were to understand in spoken human language. I think to accurately answer that question, it would actually be something more along the lines of a tone or a frequency would be the truest answer or response. And we can't necessarily mimic or give direct understanding through that. But if the specific tone were be able to be heard and immediately comprehended through the body, then the question itself would be negated. It's kind of like an infinite loop. That might be a little bit overheads. That might be a little bit weird there.
I think that's a good place to tap into it, and to dovetail off what you're saying, like with our current paradigm of understanding these things, there is, number one, so much baggage associated with even having this discussion that we can't even use a common language without having a whole mess of like our own internal things come up. So my suggestion, and this is based off the book by Neil Donald Walsh, The God's Solution, which is actually his attempt at answering this question directly, is that, like Das said, we need to understand this in terms of a frequency. But